I was absolutely convinced I had figured out the perfect training formula. 5 to 6 minute per mile pace for all my road runs. It felt challenging but sustainable. I was putting in the miles, logging consistent training, and feeling like a serious runner. But then something happened that shattered everything I believed about training. My race times plateaued. My body started breaking down. And I discovered that the pace I thought was making me faster was actually the exact thing holding me back. What if I told you that the most popular training pace among recreational runners is also the most destructive? That the zone where most people spend most of their running time is scientifically proven to be the least effective for improvement. The data I'm about to show you will completely change how you approach every single training run. And the final revelation about what elite coaches actually prescribe is going to leave you absolutely speechless. Welcome to a journey that will revolutionize your understanding of training intensity and pace distribution. Today, we're going deep into the science of why that comfortable, moderate pace that feels productive is actually sabotaging your progress. Prepare-se para descobrir the training paradigm that separates runners who continuously improve from those who remain stuck at the same performance level year after year. This isn't theory or speculation. This is backed by decades of research and real-world results from thousands of runners. But before we dive in, I need to know where you're running from. Comment below right now and tell me which city or country you're watching from. Are you grinding out miles in Boston, running the streets of Miami, training in the hills of San Francisco, or maybe logging kilometers in Toronto? Drop your location in the comments. I love connecting with the global running community and understanding where everyone is training. Now, let's talk about why that 5 to 6 minute pace might be destroying your running potential. Let me take you back to where this all started for me. I had been running seriously for about 2 years. I could comfortably hold a 5:30 pace for my daily runs. It felt challenging enough that I believed I was getting a solid workout, but sustainable enough that I could do it day after day. My weekly mileage was respectable, around 40 to 50 miles per week. I felt fit, strong, and committed. According to everything I had learned from running forums, social media runners, and casual advice, I was doing everything right. Consistency was king, and I was being consistent. I ran that 5:30 to 6 minute pace almost every single day. Some days felt easier, some days harder, but I stayed in that range because it seemed like the sweet spot between easy jogging and hard training. Then race day came. I had been training for a half marathon with dreams of breaking 1 hour 30 minutes. Based on my training paces, this seemed completely achievable. My pace calculator suggested I was fit enough for it. But when I toed the start line and the gun went off, reality hit hard. The first few miles felt good, running my target pace of 6:50 per mile. But by mile 7, I was struggling. My legs felt heavy, my breathing became labored. By mile 10, I was fighting just to maintain 8-minute pace. I crossed the finish line in 1 hour, 42 minutes, nowhere near my goal. I was devastated, confused, and frustrated. How could all that training at 5:30 to 6 minute pace not translate to race performance? I was running faster in training than my race pace, yet I couldn't sustain the race pace for 13 miles. Something was fundamentally wrong with my approach. That's when I started digging into the actual science of training intensity distribution. What I discovered changed everything. The pace I had been running, that 5 to 6 minute range that felt moderately hard, was what exercise physiologists call the threshold gray zone. It's the no man's land between true easy running and true hard running. And here's the brutal truth that nobody talks about. Training in this zone is the least efficient way to improve as a runner. You're working hard enough to accumulate significant fatigue and stress, but not hard enough to trigger the specific physiological adaptations that make you faster. It's like trying to build muscle by lifting weights that are too light to stimulate growth but heavy enough to make you tired. You're going through the motions without getting the benefits. The research on this is absolutely clear and has been for decades, yet somehow this knowledge hasn't penetrated into recreational running culture. Studies examining the training of elite endurance athletes across multiple sports, running, cycling, cross-country skiing, rowing, consistently show the same pattern. Elite athletes spend approximately 80% of their training volume at low intensities, below the first ventilatory threshold, where they can comfortably hold conversations and breathe through their noses. They spend about 5 to 10% at true high intensities, above the second ventilatory threshold, where they're pushing hard and can barely speak. And they spend only 10 to 15% in that moderate zone, the threshold area. This is called polarized training, and it's the gold standard for endurance development. Now compare that to what most recreational runners do. Research, tracking the training of age group marathoners and recreational distance runners, shows exactly the opposite distribution. Most recreational runners spend 60 to 70% of their training time in that moderate zone. They spend maybe 20% truly easy and 10 to 20% truly hard. This is called pyramidal or threshold heavy training. And while it can produce some results in beginners, it leads to rapid plateaus and increased injury risk. The reason is straightforward. Moderate intensity training creates significant physiological stress and fatigue without providing clear adaptive signals. Your easy running, when done truly easy, allows for recovery while still building aerobic base through high volume. Your hard running, when done truly hard, provides powerful signals for adaptation in VO2 max, lactate threshold, and running economy. But that middle zone? It's just accumulating fatigue. Agora pense comigo about your own training. What percentage of your runs are at that moderate effort where you're breathing hard but not gasping, working but not crushing yourself? If you're like most runners, it's probably the majority. Comment right now and tell me, guilty of moderate pace. If this describes your training, or I train polarized, if you're already following this approach. Understanding where you are is the first step to transformation. And don't feel bad if you've been training in the gray zone. You're not alone. The vast majority of runners make this same mistake because it feels intuitive. Moderate effort feels productive. It feels like you're working hard enough to improve. But feelings can be deceiving. Let me explain the physiology of why easy running needs to be truly easy. When you run at low intensities, below about 70% of your maximum heart rate, your body is operating primarily through aerobic metabolism using fat as fuel. This is incredibly efficient and sustainable. At these intensities, you're building mitochondrial density, improving capillary networks, enhancing fat oxidation, and increasing the efficiency of your aerobic system. These are the foundational adaptations that allow you to run faster at all distances. But here's the critical point. These adaptations occur with volume, not intensity. You don't need to run hard to build your aerobic base. You just need to run a lot at easy intensities. The more volume you can accumulate while staying in the easy zone, the stronger your aerobic foundation becomes. When you run at moderate intensities, that 5 to 6 minute pace for many runners, you're no longer primarily aerobic. You're using a significant amount of carbohydrate fuel. You're accumulating some lactate. Your body is operating in a mixed metabolic state. This creates several problems. First, you can't accumulate as much volume because the fatigue is too high. If you try to run 70 miles per week at moderate intensity, you'll break down quickly. Second, you're not getting the pure aerobic adaptations because the intensity is too high. Third, you're not getting the high-end adaptations like VO2 max improvement because the intensity is too low. You're stuck in the middle, getting mediocre adaptations from both systems. It's the worst of both worlds. Now let's talk about what truly easy running should feel like, because I think most runners dramatically underestimate how easy their easy runs should be. Truly easy running means you can hold a full conversation, in complete sentences without gasping for breath. It means you could breathe through your nose if you wanted to, though mouth breathing is fine. It means your heart rate is in zone 2, typically 65 to 75% of maximum for most people. It means the pace feels almost embarrassingly slow, especially at the beginning of runs. For someone who races a half marathon at 7-minute pace, truly easy running might be 9:30 to 10:30 per mile. For someone who races at 6-minute pace, easy might be 8 to 9-minute pace. These are massive differences from race pace, and that's exactly the point. Elite marathoners who race at sub-5-minute mile pace regularly do easy runs at 7 to 8-minute pace or even slower. Eliud Kipchoge, the greatest marathoner in history who races at 4:37 per mile pace, does easy runs at 6:30 to 7:30 pace. That's 2 to 3 minutes per mile slower than his marathon race pace. Think about that. The best marathoner on earth runs his easy runs at paces that many recreational runners would consider slow. Why? Because he understands that easy running serves a specific purpose: building aerobic capacity and allowing recovery between hard sessions. The pace is irrelevant. The physiological stimulus is what matters. When recreational runners see elite athletes running slow during easy runs, they rarely understand the context. They don't realize this is intentional, strategic, and essential to the overall training program. The ego is the biggest barrier to running truly easy. Runners are competitive by nature. We track our paces, compare them to others, post them on social media. Running slow feels like admitting weakness or laziness. There's a psychological discomfort in deliberately slowing down when you're capable of going faster. I felt this intensely when I first started training with proper intensity distribution. My ego screamed at me every time I ran 9-minute miles when I knew I could run 6-minute miles. I worried that other runners would see me and think I was out of shape. I worried that running slow would make me slow. But I had to learn to separate training pace from racing pace. They serve different purposes and should not be confused with each other. Você acredita nisso? Write in the comments if you struggle with slowing down on easy days. I know so many runners who intellectually understand they should run easier, but they can't bring themselves to actually do it. The ego won't allow it. But here's what happened when I finally committed to truly easy running. My weekly mileage increased from 40-50 miles to 60-70 miles because I wasn't constantly exhausted. My body recovered faster between workouts. My hard workouts became genuinely hard because I had the energy to push them. And most importantly, my race time started dropping dramatically. Within 6 months of switching to polarized training, I ran that half marathon in 1 hour 26 minutes, 14 minutes faster than my previous attempt. Same runner, different training approach, completely different results. Now let's talk about the hard days, because polarized training isn't just about running easier on easy days. It's about running harder on hard days. When you're constantly moderating your intensity with that 5 to 6 minute pace, you're never truly pushing your high-end capabilities. Your VO2 max sessions aren't hard enough. Your threshold work isn't sharp enough. Your speed development is limited. True high-intensity training is uncomfortable, even painful. It requires mental fortitude to push through the discomfort. But this is where the magic happens. This is where you force your body to adapt to higher demands. This is where you increase your ceiling for performance. High-intensity training for distance runners typically falls into a few categories. VO2 max intervals are done at roughly 3 km to 5 km race pace, sustained for 3 to 5 minutes with equal rest between intervals. These sessions should have you breathing heavily, heart rate at 90 to 95% of maximum, legs burning. They're designed to increase your maximal aerobic capacity, the ceiling of your cardiovascular system. Threshold intervals are done at roughly 15 km to half marathon race pace, sustained for longer periods like 10 to 20 minutes or more, with shorter recoveries. These sessions are comfortably hard, what runners describe as controlled discomfort. They're designed to improve your lactate threshold, the pace you can sustain for extended periods without accumulating excessive fatigue. Speed development work includes shorter, faster intervals at mile pace or faster, along with strides and hill sprints. These sessions improve running economy, neuromuscular coordination, and top-end speed. Each type of high-intensity session serves a specific physiological purpose and creates specific adaptations. But here's the key. You can only do these sessions justice if you're properly recovered from your easy days. If you've been grinding out moderate pace runs all week, you won't have the energy or freshness to truly nail your hard sessions. They become mediocre efforts that don't provide sufficient stimulus. This is why polarized training is so powerful. By running truly easy most of the time, you create the conditions for exceptional hard sessions. The typical structure of polarized training for a distance runner might look like this. If you're running 6 days per week, 4 of those days are easy runs at conversational pace. 1 day is a true high-intensity session, either VO2 max intervals or threshold work. 1 day is a long run, done mostly at easy pace but potentially including some marathon pace work near the end. If you're running 7 days per week, add another easy day. If you're doing 2 hard sessions per week, separate them by at least 2 easy days to ensure adequate recovery. The exact structure depends on your training phase, race distance, and individual recovery capacity, but the principle remains constant. Most runs are easy, a small number are hard, and almost nothing is in the moderate zone. When I restructured my training this way, the transformation was remarkable. My easy runs, which were now at 8:30 to 9:30 pace instead of 5:30 to 6, felt rejuvenating rather than draining. I looked forward to them. I could run them in the morning and still have energy for the rest of my day. My hard sessions, which were now truly hard rather than moderately hard, became the focal points of my training week. I would prepare for them mentally, execute them with full commitment, and feel genuinely accomplished afterward. The training had structure, purpose, and variability, instead of being a monotonous grind at the same moderate pace day after day. My body responded with better adaptation, fewer injuries, and consistent improvement. The injury prevention aspect of polarized training is worth emphasizing. Moderate intensity training accumulates a lot of musculoskeletal stress because you're constantly loading your tissues without adequate recovery. Running at 5 to 6 minute pace every day creates repetitive stress on your joints, tendons, and muscles that never fully recover. Over time, this leads to overuse injuries: plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis, IT band syndrome, stress fractures. These are the hallmarks of chronic moderate intensity training. When you shift to polarized training with truly easy base running, you dramatically reduce daily loading stress. Your tissues have time to recover and adapt. The easy running is gentle enough that it actually promotes recovery through increased blood flow without creating additional damage. Meanwhile, your hard sessions, because they're infrequent and separated by recovery days, don't create chronic stress patterns. Yes, they create acute stress in the moment, but your body has adequate time to recover before the next hard stimulus. This is the fundamental principle of adaptation. Stress plus recovery equals growth. Stress plus more stress equals breakdown. Moderate intensity training is essentially chronic stress without adequate recovery. Polarized training is strategic stress with abundant recovery. The injury rates among runners who train polarized are significantly lower than those who train in the gray zone constantly. This isn't surprising when you understand the biomechanics and physiology involved. Agora pensi comigo about the runners you know who are constantly injured or struggling with chronic aches and pains. What does their training look like? I'd bet that most of them are grinding out moderate pace runs constantly. Never truly easy, never truly hard, just always moderately stressed. Then think about the runners you know who seem to stay healthy year after year while continuing to improve. What does their training look like? Likely lots of easy volume with occasional hard sessions. The pattern is clear once you start looking for it. Comment now and tell me. Easy runs tomorrow if you're committing to slowing down your easy days, or keeping my pace if you're not convinced yet. I want to know where everyone stands on this. The mental and emotional benefits of polarized training are equally important as the physical benefits. When every run is moderately hard, training becomes a grind. There's no variety, no clear purpose to individual sessions. You're just putting in miles and hoping it adds up to improvement. This creates training monotony and burnout. Many runners lose their love for the sport because it becomes a relentless cycle of grinding out the same moderate effort day after day. Polarized training brings back the joy. Easy runs are genuinely enjoyable. You can appreciate your surroundings, run with friends while chatting, or simply zone out and relax. There's no pressure, no grinding. Hard sessions are exciting challenges. They're opportunities to test yourself and see what you're capable of. They're concrete markers of progress when you hit your target splits. The psychological lift from nailing a hard workout is enormous. When you run a successful VO2 max session, crushing your intervals and hitting every split, you finish with tremendous confidence and satisfaction. This positive reinforcement keeps you motivated and engaged with training. Compare that to the feeling after yet another moderately hard run that wasn't particularly easy or particularly challenging. There's no sense of accomplishment, just fatigue. Over time, this erodes motivation. The structure and variety of polarized training maintains enthusiasm, because every run has a clear purpose. You know why you're running easy today. You know why tomorrow's session will be hard. Everything fits into a coherent plan, rather than being random accumulated mileage. Let's address a common concern that runners have when they first learn about polarized training. They worry that running slower on easy days will make them slower overall. This fear is understandable but completely unfounded. Your easy running pace is not what determines your race pace. Your aerobic capacity, lactate threshold, and running economy determine your race pace. These qualities are developed through the combination of high-volume easy running and strategic high-intensity training. Running your easy days at moderate pace doesn't make you faster. It just makes you tired. The irony is that many runners discover they can actually run faster in races when they slow down their easy training. This seems paradoxical until you understand that proper recovery allows for better adaptation and more effective hard sessions. Scientific studies have compared polarized training to threshold-heavy training in controlled experiments. Researchers take groups of runners with similar fitness levels and assign them different training programs. The polarized group does 80% easy, 20% hard. The threshold group does more moderate intensity work. After 8 to 12 weeks, they measure improvements in VO2 max, lactate threshold, time trial performance, and running economy. Consistently, the polarized group shows superior improvements across all metrics. Not slightly better, significantly better. The difference isn't subtle. Polarized training produces 2 to 3 times greater improvement in key performance markers compared to threshold-heavy training. And this has been replicated across numerous studies with different populations of runners. One particularly compelling study took competitive runners and had them follow either polarized or threshold-heavy training for 12 weeks. Both groups did the same total training volume and the same amount of high-intensity training. The only difference was that the polarized group did their remaining volume easy, while the threshold group did their remaining volume at moderate intensity. After 12 weeks, the polarized group improved their 10-kilometer time by an average of 4%. The threshold group improved by less than 1%. 4 times greater improvement from simply redistributing intensity. Same volume, same hard sessions, different easy day intensity. That's the power of proper training distribution. The runners in the threshold group were working just as hard, logging just as many miles, but seeing far less improvement because they were training in that inefficient moderate zone. Here's how to implement this in your own training starting immediately. First, determine your easy pace using either heart rate or perceived exertion. If you have a heart rate monitor, your easy pace should keep you in zone 2, approximately 65 to 75% of your maximum heart rate. If you don't have a monitor, use the talk test. You should be able to hold a conversation in complete sentences. If you can only speak in short phrases, you're running too hard. Second, commit to running at least 80% of your weekly mileage at this easy pace. If you run 6 times per week, 4 to 5 of those runs should be easy. If you run 4 times per week, 3 should be easy. Don't cheat on this. The temptation will be strong to push the pace when you're feeling good. Resist it. Third, make your hard sessions truly hard. If you're doing intervals, hit your target paces precisely. Don't sandbag them. Don't exceed them by too much either, but push the prescribed intensity. If you're doing a tempo run, get into that controlled discomfort zone and maintain it. These sessions should feel challenging and leave you genuinely fatigued afterward. If your hard sessions don't feel significantly harder than your old moderate pace runs, you're not pushing hard enough. Fourth, be patient with the adaptation process. Your ego will struggle with the slower, easy paces initially. You might feel like you're not working hard enough. You might worry that you're losing fitness. Trust the process. Give it 8 to 12 weeks of consistent implementation before judging results. The improvements will come. Fifth, track your progress objectively. Don't rely on how you feel during easy runs because those should feel easy. Track your hard session performances. Are your interval times improving? Is your tempo pace getting faster at the same effort level? Are your race times dropping? These are the metrics that matter. Also, track your recovery. Are you feeling fresher day to day? Are you sleeping better? Is your resting heart rate decreasing? These are signs that your body is adapting positively. Many runners who switch to polarized training notice they feel better overall, not just during runs. Their energy levels throughout the day improve, their sleep quality increases, their stress levels decrease. These systemic benefits come from proper training stress management. The beautiful thing about polarized training is that it's scalable to any level of runner. Whether you're running 20 miles per week or 100 miles per week, the principle remains the same. 80% easy, 20% hard. A beginner running 3 times per week can do 2 easy runs and 1 hard session. An advanced marathoner running 12 times per week can do 9 to 10 easy runs and 2 to 3 hard sessions. The structure adapts to your volume and goals, and the benefits apply universally. This isn't just for elite athletes or experienced runners. Beginners actually benefit even more from polarized training because they haven't yet developed bad habits. They can learn proper training distribution from the start, rather than having to unlearn years of moderate intensity grinding. As we approach the end of this journey together, I want to reflect on the bigger lesson here. Running faster isn't about running harder all the time. It's about running smarter. It's about understanding your body's adaptive processes and creating the optimal conditions for improvement. The 5 to 6 minute pace that I thought was ideal was actually my biggest limitation. It felt right, because it felt challenging. But challenging isn't always optimal. Sometimes the most productive training feels surprisingly easy. Sometimes improvement requires patience and trust in processes that seem counterintuitive. This applies beyond running to everything in life. The obvious approach isn't always the best approach. Sometimes you need to slow down to speed up. Sometimes you need to do less to achieve more. The transformation in my running came not from trying harder, but from training smarter. From understanding the science and applying it consistently. From letting go of ego and embracing what actually works, rather than what feels impressive. Your running transformation will come from the same place. You have a choice right now. You can continue training the way you've always trained, hoping for different results. Or you can embrace the proven approach that elite athletes and successful runners worldwide use. You can let go of that moderate pace that's holding you back and discover what you're truly capable of when you train with proper intensity distribution. Here's what I want you to do right now. First, leave a comment below telling me what your current training looks like. Write "too much moderate" if you've been stuck in the gray zone, or "already polarized" if you're already training this way. Share your experience. Second, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we're going deeper into training science, racing strategies, and the methods that produce real results. You don't want to miss what's coming. Third, give this video a thumbs up if it changed your perspective on training. Every like helps this message reach more runners who need it. And finally, click on the video appearing on your screen right now where I break down the exact hard workout structures that will maximize your improvement when combined with easy base running. You've learned why polarized training works. Now you need to know exactly how to implement the hard sessions that drive adaptation. Continue this journey with me. Your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of smarter training. Leave your comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Let's train smarter together.